Put out the fire. Put out the fire. Our house is on fire. Put out the fire. Put out the fire. Put out the fire. Our house is on fire. We love you. We hear you. We commit to change our ways. Not later, but sooner. Right now, for your future. Youth can't wait. Put out the fire. Women can't wait. Put out the fire. Blind can't wait. Put out the fire. Our house is on fire. For our children. Put out the fire. And their children. Put out the fire. And their children. Put out the fire. Our house is on fire. For songbirds, for clean air, for the oceans and the lakes. Not later, but sooner. Right now, for our future. Melting glaciers, put out the fire. Rising seas, put out the fire. Bleaching coral, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. Shrinking shoreline, put out the fire. Sinking island, put out the fire. Growing dry land, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. Let bees live, let trees grow, let the snow fall where it may. Not later, but sooner. Right now, for the future. Right now, for the future. Right now, we are here to put out the fire. This is how we put out the fire. Time is now, we put out the fire. Our house is on fire.
We're still here, and we're going strong, and we're getting tired of proving we belong. We're still here, and we're going strong, and we're getting tired of proving we belong. We're still here, and we're going strong, and we're getting tired of proving we belong. We're still
A letter to her kids was the last thing she wrote at a place in the Bronx where she lost all hope. She tried and tried to survive and provide for conditions she faced, but too much to take. Left her 4 children in the Philippines, to nanny in the States and send her back dreams. Cause that's the way it works in poor countries where there is no work and you have to leave. For little pay, long hours, no job benefits. Fired if you tell it, just the hell of it. Abuse is what they call it, and so is slavery. To be a migrant worker is a display bravery. I imagine a sacrifice, it brings me to tears. To not see your children for so many years. Felt they belonged in our land of liberty, but some went wrong when they took her dignity. Yeah, even when the smoke is clear, strong. Even when the hope is gone, and we're getting tired of proving we belong. But we keep holding on. Yeah, even after all these years, strong. Even when it all went wrong, we're getting tired of proving we belong. But we keep holding on.
Yo, we come a long way since long duck dong. Ridiculed for generations while they mock us and taunt with their chings, chongs, Rosie O'Donnell. But that joke's more dumb than George Dove and your mom. What? Oh, you wondering where I'm from? Is it confusing as color skin is of an America? Isn't this the land of opportunity, rights, and equals? Well, Hollywood likes to get Asian roles of white people, but still we'll find a way to get on the tube. Props to Yo Quan and the American dance crews. Cause that's what I call reality TV. Smacking your face while I pack y'all handles pieces. If you can't recognize them, widen your eyelids instead of pulling them back. Miley Cyrus, these blind kids be keeping the lies, showing your types like a virus. But whatever ridiculous innovation did to give it's just to find us here. Even when the smoke is cleared, strong. And even when the hope is gone, cause we're getting tired of proving we belong. But we keep holding on here, even after all these years, strong. And even when it all went wrong, we're getting tired of proving we belong. But we keep holding on.
In the House and the Senate say we belong. We belong. We belong. On the TV and the radio, we belong. We belong.
If they mispronounce your name, say we belong. Stop searched on the plane, say we belong.
Here, though you choose not to see us, we ain't Ivy Leaguers or tequilas only. We that lonely testimony, your stories never told, cause you hold us up like trophies, like model minorities. But what about all the refugees of war? I speak for my Southeast Asian brethren. Peace to my family grew up in Camp Pendleton like a pendulum. It's back and it's forth. Half is upper class, man, half of us is poor. Half of us is doctors studying healthcare. Half of us is babies having babies for welfare. That's a sign of our grief. When we miss home and we die in our sleep. So don't question why I'm inspired to speak. Cause against all odds, despite your beliefs, we're here. Even when the smoke is clear, strong. Even when the hope is gone, we're getting tired of proving we belong. But we keep holding on here. Even after all these years, strong. Even when it all went wrong, we're getting tired of proving we belong. But we keep holding on.
About the news, Daddy leaves it on all day through. I've been thinking about the wars, and to be honest, I can't take it anymore. I hear you every day, the awful words you say, but hate can't be the face of the American dream. I've been thinking about my life and how one day I want to be a mother and a wife. I've been scared of that thought too. In a world of struggle, what are we gonna do? I hear you every day saying it's gonna be okay, but hate can't be the face of the American dream. Start with me. And I've been thinking about our mother and how they took her away from her people, put her in a boarding school, away from her brother, sister, and culture. I can hear her every night saying we've gotta make this right, 'cause hate can't be the face of the American dream. And I know we've got a long way to go.
Music has the power to speak to our hearts and activate our minds around the issues of our time. Music is a vital tool for building an equitable and resilient future. Music can change the world. Hi, I'm Liz Stookey, Executive Director and co-founder of Music to Life. Thank you so much for tuning in to learn more about our mission to activate social change through music. Music and social change have always gone hand in hand, and for 20 years, Music to Life has been exploring and supporting music's ability to transform our communities. We produce music programs that foster connection and creativity. We partner with organizations to present educational panels and workshops. And today, we're committed to raising up our amazing network of social change musicians. The artists we work with are change makers who empower and transform their communities through music. Our mission is to amplify their voices and support their work through funding, performance opportunities, mentorships, and other vital resources. Now you'll see Music to Life's mission in action. Get to know these artists. Let them into your hearts and let them inspire you, because this is Music to Life. Thanks again for joining us.
Good evening. Welcome to Pass the Mic. After years of participation in the world of music and social change, tonight, Music to Life is celebrating its 5th year as an official nonprofit. We're pleased to be spending the evening with all of you at home. I'm your host, Noel Stookey, and joining me tonight, my Peter, Paul, and Mary partner, Peter Yarrow.
Yay. Hey there. I'm delighted to be here with Noel and all of you tonight. We're introducing some remarkable musician change makers from the earlier generations, as well as the contemporary dedicated musicians and singers who use their music to create a better, fairer world.
We're thanking each and every one of you for joining us and for your patience and understanding as we rescheduled tonight's show. It was a challenging decision to postpone, but a necessary part of our process to accommodate the diverse and various voices, both within and outside of our community.
Oh, as many of you know, Music to Life was founded by my beloved friend and musical partner in Peter, Paul, and Mary, Noel Stookey, as well as his daughter, Liz Sunday. Music to Life supports the work of musicians, songwriters, and singers who seek to use their music in the service of creating positive change in communities throughout our country. And that's very reminiscent of Peter, Paul, and Mary's intentions, too, wouldn't you know? Although we are celebrating 5 years of Music to Life as an official nonprofit, Noel and Liz have been working on this for many years together, and we're very, very grateful for that. Now, for me, there's a continuity between the path of Peter, Paul, and Mary as activists and what Noel and Liz have created. So tonight, being able to help in this presentation has extra special meaning for me. Of course, tonight's celebration is made possible by the wave of excitement created by the past efforts of Music to Life and all its devotees and supporters who tonight are represented by you and who are watching and participating, thank goodness, on YouTube and Facebook. Your support throughout these years has allowed Music to Life to produce shows like this one, and support our dedicated activists, artists. So thank you for your incredible generosity, my friends. You're in for a real treat this evening. We're going to introduce you to 3 seasoned and also aspiring musical social change artists that connect across generations and inspire folks at the intersection of music as an art form and its capacity to be a source of inspiration that can change the world.
Absolutely. Music has been a collective collateral calling for generations. Lady Gaga says that Born This Way was her freedom song, inspired by music of the 90s that empowered women, minorities, and the gay community. During a time when same-sex marriage was not yet federally legal in the United States, this song questioned the pre-existing notion of sexual orientation, and educated listeners on the need for justice and love toward and within the queer community. And incidentally, almost 15 years after the song's release, Rolling Stone named Born This Way the most inspirational LGBTQ song of all time. So tonight, we are so pleased to bring to our virtual stage a saxophonist, composer, and band leader who uses music to impart valuable lessons about the importance of environmental conservation. His pioneering work in the genre of earth music seamlessly blends jazz with sounds from the natural world, creating a rich tapestry of unique ethereal music. Through albums like Common Ground and his annual winter solstice celebrations, he not only educates listeners about various global cultures, but he raises awareness about the need to protect the Earth's ecosystems. His music has served as a call to action, motivating audiences to foster a deeper understanding of the delicate balance between humanity and nature. His commitment to using his art as an educational tool highlights the power of music in connecting people to the world around them and inspiring positive change. Please welcome my good friend, Paul Winter.
Thank you, Noel. I'm honored to be with you all today, and I hope that I can offer something that can be of value to some of the younger musicians. I have to say that music has been my passport to the world. Starting out at age 6, playing clarinet and piano, and eventually starting my first band at the age of 12. The group that I had in college was a jazz sextet in the bebop tradition, and we had some amazing lucky breaks, which saved me from going to law school. We won an Intercollegiate Jazz Festival in 1961, for which we got a recording contract with Columbia Records, which is something beyond our wildest dreams. And then, as if that weren't enough, in the next year, the State Department sent us on a goodwill tour of Latin America for 6 months through 23 countries, which totally exploded my world. And I realized that there was a great deal of music in the world besides jazz, and I came home from that wanting to have an ensemble that would kind of embrace all of the musical traditions that spoke to us. And in the late 60s, after living in Brazil for a year, which influenced me a lot, I formed a group that I called Consort, which is an archaic word for family. It was used in the Elizabethan era for ensembles. In 1968 also, I happened to attend a lecture on whale songs in New York City and was astounded by the beauty and the power and the intelligence of these long songs that the whales sing and repeat again and again. So since then, I feel that they introduced me and opened the door for me to the greater symphony of the earth. And our aspiration has been to celebrate the cultures and creatures of the whole earth with our music. And we've been fortunate to play in all 50 states and travel to 52 different countries. What you've just seen is a song entitled Wolf Eyes at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine with our 2,000 voice Hallelujah chorus. This leads into the finale of the solstice celebration, which features the dancers and drummers of the Forces of Nature Dance Theater. My daughters, Kitu and Kayana, doing an Irish step dance. And then we end with Auld Lang Syne. And you'll see in the middle of this our solstice tree, which is a symbolic tree of life, hung with hundreds of bells and gongs and chimes to represent the diversity of life. One of the places of pilgrimage that I've had for many, many years is the Grand Canyon. In the 1980s, we made 4 river rafting expeditions down the Colorado River, 3 weeks each time. It was a kind of a crazy, sort of possessed idea that I had, but I wanted to see if that amazing landscape would evoke from us very special music. The idea of making music of the land, in the same way that when you go to a place like that, you want to take pictures and bring them home, right? You want to take something back. Well, I think music has a much deeper memory than photographs. So that eventually resulted in an album called Canyon, which came out in the mid-90s. That's something I'm very proud of. I mean, that was my first big foray in terms of doing a project in nature. And since then, we've done an album in the Northern Rockies. And we have a project that's still unfinished in Lake Baikal in Siberia, where I had gone 7 times in the 90s. And it's a magnificent lake that has 1/5 of the fresh water on the planet, and an unusual species of seal that are the only freshwater seals in the world. In 1987, my friend Roger Payne, the whale biologist who had recorded the humpback whales in the early 70s and produced the album Songs of the Humpback Whale, asked me to come to Cambridge to MC a concert that he was doing with the premiere of a Star Trek film called Star Trek IV, for which Leonard Nimoy had asked Roger for recordings of the whales in the story of this film in a future century when humanity is in peril. They do time travel and come back to this century and get the humpback whales to come and save them. And we saw this film, which we realized was going to get to millions of people, the story of the whales. And maybe I thought we could convince Nimoy to come to Russia with the film to show it, to raise awareness about the magnificence and the intelligence of the whales, and bring pressure to bear on the whaling industry there to stop it. So all of that came true. Roger and I flew to Los Angeles to meet with Leonard Nimoy. And when we went into his bungalow on the Paramount lot, he was coming across the end of the office to us holding an LP. And the first thing he said to me, he handed me the LP and he said, "May I have your autograph?" And it was my album Common Ground, which had come out in 1978, which featured music based on the whale and the wolf and the eagle. And he said, "This is where I learned about whale songs, from your album." We still have a lot of work to do, but I would say that the example of the Songs of the Humpback Whale, that album, which was heard by millions of people, probably did more for the cause of whales than all of the talk and the books and the symposia put together. So it gave me a model that I've been following ever since with a lot of the projects we've done. I love the fact that in the word heart, in the middle of it, is this little 3-letter word called ear. And then if you take that word heart and scoot the first letter around to the end, it's this beloved word called earth. And to know that ear is the very first part of the name of our planet home, those correlations encourage me a great deal. And I feel that music has a unique ability to awaken the heart, and that only if enough people come to really love the earth as their home, the whole earth, will we have a chance to turn around the downward spiral of climate chaos and biodiversity loss and environmental destruction. And I think music has a huge role to play in this, untapped, almost virtually yet undiscovered. And so I can't think of a better path for anybody to follow than a life in music. So I'd like to pass the mic to a unique artist who's using his experience in world music and hip hop to reach today's youth. Beny Esguerra.
Peace and much love, everyone. My name is Beny Esguerra, and I am currently located in Colombia. I just landed today for a tour that we're doing with a group called Los Gaiteros de Ovejas. But I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I was born in Bogota, Colombia, so it's really nice to be back. But we moved in the late 80s with my parents as political refugees. You know, they were doing a lot of cultural and human rights work at a time where many people were being repressed and silenced and whole political movements were being disappeared, so we had to flee. That lived experience informed a lot of the work that I do artistically. And here we are now. I'm an arts educator, community worker, musician, producer, and just very, very happy to be living out my purpose through music.
Everybody reach. Take a break from the work and the grinding. Take a break from the hate and the fighting. Down, bottom, up, top, join the party. That's right, top, left, one family.
It's that summertime heat while it's windy. Hand me a freezy while I'm with my niecey. And my nephew got me cheesing like my bro sweet. I'm always happy cause we made it out the country.
I live for the moment, my love is a teacher. My truth in the lyrics, this love is a feature. I got ambitions, God sent me on a mission. Enjoy your life cause life is limited edition.
Yeah, we feeling good today. We feeling A-okay. Underneath the sunshine, I'm heating up and I wouldn't call it love.
Estamos presentes, dale gracias, toda mi gente, yo los quiero en mi creía, por eso comparto canción y alegría.
Every day I take a breath and say peace. Journey's been blessed, but I swear it's not free. That's why I give thanks to those who got me. That's why I give thanks to those who got me.
Gracias a mis padres, no respetar un with drama, todo en la vida es temporal cuando estamos de buenas, hay que gozar. Me levanto por la mañana, le doy gracias a la vida, que le ha dado a mi familia, la luz para ver otro día, siempre creciendo, siempre aprendiendo, cuando me caigo siempre me levanto, siempre me limpio, seguimos luchando, y otro día se...
All right, you just saw the video to T. Fiesta, which is the single off the 5th album of Wheel It Studios. And it brings together over 13 artists from the program. And the whole storyline is to have artists coming from the different ends of the community, from the 4 directions, north, south, east, west. And they all meet at a park that is in the center of the community that not many people know about. So it's also, the video is kind of, you know, bringing all the artists from the different neighborhoods coming together to have a celebration and to show all the different green areas that are also a part of the community that many people don't know about. The music that I play is traditional Afro-Indigenous Colombian music, but also from a hip-hop lens, from a socially conscious inner city lens. And the traditional aspect of the music that I play, I began to play the percussion instruments and then moved on to indigenous traditional flutes. As you begin to learn your instrument, you begin to uncover all of the people that came before you, the lineage of people that came before you. And then as you uncover those people, you begin to learn about where they're from, and you begin to learn about the history of the music and the history of the instruments. For me, that was very empowering because as I learned how to play the instruments, I began to learn about myself. I began to learn about my history. And that to me was very empowering because it all goes back to knowledge of self, being able to really learn. And so for me, whenever I teach music, is through that same approach. It's being able to not just teach the different melodies, the different rhythms, but that's kind of that's the hook. That's how you get the students' attention. But then you begin to also teach all of the things that some would see as not being musical, all the cultural knowledge, all the historical knowledge, which to me is one of the most important parts of music and what makes it empowering for learners. The Wheelit Studios is a mobile recording studio project that I lead in my community in Toronto, in Jane and Finch. It all began to be able to provide free access to equipment and mentorship to artists who couldn't afford studio time, but at the same time, analyzing the dynamics of the community. But also on an institutional level, there's been a lot of obstacles where some of the community music programs that are run at social service organizations wouldn't last. The funding would run out, or new management would come in and they would have a different vision, so the programs wouldn't last. Also in the school system in the area, the music that is being taught is, music that it's outdated, the music education program. So basically this started as a way to respond to all these different barriers and issues. We began to engage all of these different artists. The process of teaching happened through collaboration. As the artists began to collaborate with each other, they began to learn about the different issues in the community. They began to learn about themselves. They began to learn that just because you grow up in one side of the neighborhood, that says that you're supposed to not like the artists that grow up in the other side of the neighborhood. Just because that is what you're told doesn't mean that that's the way that it has to be. So the younger the artists get to know each other, the more potential there is for those tensions to be erased as the artists grow up and begin to collaborate together. Yeah, the Musician Change Academy has been really important this year in terms of the mentorship, guidance, the resources that have been available, the different artists that are also part of the cohort, and creating those connections. Having a mentor, a coach that is there kind of guiding you has been really important, because, as an artist that is also working on, I'm also working on my career. Like right now I'm doing a tour and I'm doing all these different things while still leading this mobile project. It's hard to be able to manage, to do time management and be able to keep everything moving at the same time. So to be able to have those resources and to be able to have people that are there reminding you, and people that you can ask questions and they'll be able to help you, is to me very valuable. So as a result, this year we've had a lot of growth because of those that type of support. This year we were nominated for the International Indigenous Music Hip Hop Music Awards. So that growth has been as a result of many different things, but including also the Musician Change Academy that I participated in this year. So I'm very thankful for that.
Hi, I'm Bill Stetson. I am the White House Chairman for the Arts, so I represent the White House at the Kennedy Center. I am chair of the President's Advisory Committee on the Arts, and there we try to use the arts as a catalyst for positive change. That's what I've been trying to do that most of my life, and that is what has drawn me to Music to Life, where I believe I've been an advisor since the very first days. And as a child, I used to listen to Peter, Paul, and Mary every night on my little Victrola next to my bed as I fell asleep. I was invited to a house party for Music to Life, and there were these kids from the Berkeley School. They were playing and they were rapping and they were doing poetry, and they were so moving for me. And I just felt this incredible wave of hope, and that was my aha moment, that this organization is really going to go places, and it's really going to be a positive tool for change, and don't we need that now? I mean, more so than ever. So I'd like to ask all of you to do what I have done and donate to this great organization to support young artists who are filled with enthusiasm for a more positive world. Please give whatever you can, as I do every year. Whatever you can do is so appreciated. Thank you.
I was sitting in a parking lot with Paul Winter when we first met, and I said, you know, Paul, there's a bunch of classical music that really ought to have a beat behind it. And I think I played Handel's Water Music, you know, and I went boom, 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 behind it. And he looked at me like I was a little crazy, but then he kind of caught on. He said, you know, I'm putting together a consort. And it was my privilege over the next couple of years to put together the first 2 albums of Paul Winter's music with this consort. And the fact that he has taken it where he has now, that it is so inclusive, not only of us as jazz lovers, but of us as citizens of the world who care about nature and the ecological standards that we sometimes abuse. Thank you, Paul Winter. You're a beauty.
I want to recall a moment of activism. I went to I think it was the 10th, or maybe it was the 25th anniversary of Woodstock. He was there and Richie Havens, and we all jammed together. And whenever I've been doing a benefit or an appearance in the context of an advocacy of one sort or another, if I ever asked Paul, he would move heaven and earth to be there. So he is really a brother and a friend in that sense to Peter, Paul, and Mary, and to the ethos of commitment that now is so much a part of Music to Life. He really pioneered so many things, and without any fanfare or any ego, he said, here we are. He's the essence of humility and caring, and he's a rare breed. He's a rare bird or rare whale.
Hey, if you want to exchange some thoughts and ideas with Peter and I and our aspiring artists after the show, there are still some tickets available to our virtual after party. Woo-wee! You can purchase your ticket by clicking the link in the chat or scanning the QR code in the corner of the screen. Thanks, and we're looking forward to seeing you.
Music has always moved us forward, challenging the norm and pushing boundaries in a way that only the arts can. A recent example of this is Childish Gambino's This Is America, a song released in 2018 amid political and cultural turmoil in the U.S. This Is America calls us to witness the often brutal realities of life in America for Black and brown Americans. Childish Gambino reached out to listeners with a happy, carefree tone and used that platform to challenge the dark truth of modern-day racism. When the music video was released, it quickly became the most trending video on YouTube. It sparked a storm of conversation around crucial and heartbreaking topics like gun violence and white supremacy. It urged folks to think critically about these issues and consider ways to lift our own voices and join advocacies in support of changing the status quo. One of tonight's musicians who challenges assumptions and goes way beyond the expected is a legend in the world of hip-hop. As the frontman of Public Enemy, his lyrics and delivery are infused with a blend of social commentary and incisive political critique. His commitment to using his music to challenge norms has not only reshaped the hip-hop landscape, but also has inspired countless individuals to challenge injustices that persist in our world today. It is my great honor to present to you Chuck D.
Thank you, Peter Yarrow, one of my heroes. And we had worked together earlier in this century and also the last parts of last century. And I was just happy that you was able to even call and know my name. So thank you. So I'm going to take this microphone and do what I do from one of the greats, one of the greats of the three of the greats I grew up with, and all the songs that stayed embedded in my head. So every time I get on the plane, I say, I don't know when I'll be back again. So that's that. I mean, it was, I come from a family where my dad, gave me his sports side, but my mom gave me the sense of folk and theater and soul and music and theater and art. So to this day, I'm honed on this, that's a part of me. So I remember that time. I'm able to think back to 63, 64, 65, 66, that era where we sang Peter, Paul, and Mary songs in school. I hold them in great regard. I've even tried to work in rap music and hip hop to try to form acts that had a combination of not just, not just being a male group or a female group, a combination group that said something. And I always would give a reference in the education, like, well, try to be like Peter, Paul, and Mary. And then I have to give an education, depending on what generation I'm talking to. Because the combination of the vibration and the words, just penetrate. I mean, I knew the history before that, growing up as a kid, which was a rare history to know for a Black kid coming out of Long Island. But I would know about, Pete Seeger and the Weavers and stuff like that, because, I mean, there was folk records in the house. I mean, Jack Holtzman is one of my heroes and mentors. He would tell many people, and I've read this, that everybody has art in them. The situation and the process of getting art out of everybody is a whole other thing. So people should never, ever give up on being able to at least admit that they had art in them, that they got out of them to change their environment, their world, and their surroundings.
A place I forgot. I woke up in the parking lot, far from a meal in the cot, on the corner where all the streets got the same name. Maybe my brain's on the brink of insane. Pain between the papers while sleeping on the train. This the land of milk and honey. No shame. The invisible man times 3. Black down and out, outstanding on the corner. No doubt. Now a nation of homeless sleeping in bus stations. Another win for the pilgrims who said no more Haitians. As I proceed, someone to feed me is what I need. 3 blocks of dealers trying to hit me up with some weed. Avenues and boulevards, hungry as a fucker. Hope to get a ride from a trucker. Everybody know I ain't no sucker. Every time I used to drop 30 at the rucker. Away from the crazy kids and generation wrecked. Dissing pyramids while praising projects. Walk past your folks, get no respect. Calling young folks a bunch of no good rejects. And I walk on. I can't recognize the man in the mirror. Is it I? It is I. Now who this cat I'm looking at? Cause I've been waiting so long to get where I'm going. An eye for an eye. In this country, 'tis a fee. Now how the hell can I be free? Who this cat I'm looking at? Cause I've been lost so long without anybody knowing. So I move on and I walk on. Past the preachers and the pimps getting their talk on. Why do home gotta be where the negative roam? To be or not to be? So I roll alone. I'm trapped within the skin and these bones among temporary kings on cellular phones. Can I last as I walk past mad cigarette billboards and malt liquor ads? Walking on the bottles and potato chip bags. Everyone I see got the nerve to brag. Where they from, what they got, and don't own squat. Disrespect where they from, and you might get shot. Zombies asking me what the latest bomb be. Shot the fucking sheriff in a fucking deputy, G. for okaying the drug trade and letting it be. But I know prison for me is an industry, so I walk. Heard the best things in life be free.
Did God make this land and the air that we breathe?
Not for the homeless, don't give a damn about me. In the mirror, somebody else is staring at me. Maybe prison is the skin I'm within. All this time I've been suffering, can't fix it with a buffering. Plus they said I never work in this town again.
Free to say anything off the top of your head is not good if you don't know what you're saying and if you're being lured into saying something just for attention. Because at a young age, your demographic is impulsive. And every song is a teaching moment, whether good, bad, or ugly. And so you have to figure out that the challenges are the balances. And see how that rhymes? The challenges are the balances, and the balances are hard to hell to keep. So if you're in a music that somehow through the generations, the rule book happens to have pages that fall out of it, and people put their rule to it, well, hip hop is this, and like, well, you got to sometimes stop it, like, well, who told you that? There's a lot of mythology and folklore that goes around that gets stirred into a pot of like, well, who came up with that one? So you want it to be honest, you want it to be true. I'm 63, and when hip hop came along as an art form that basically took sight, story, sound, and style, which are the elements of hip hop, which is really seriously in hip hop they say turntablism, MCing, graffiti, and breakdancing. But really seriously, turntablism is musicianship, MCing is vocalization, breakdancing is dance culture, and graffiti is art culture. So those four elements have been around thousands of years as far as the output of how we create. Yes, they are hip hop's elements termed in a vernacular from the 70s of what hip hop forms out of, but they're not, they're not unconnected to our portrayal of what we felt inside and our display of what was inside into the outer world as a hip hop genre and art form and culture. But you should be very clear what you are and what you're not when you're getting on a stage or you're getting on a microphone and you're sharing the music, because the music is the vibration that all the people share. And people want to go forward, I would believe. But since the music comes out of the people, if you're doing the music, it should be used to go back into the people with some kind of, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and forward movement. It only makes common sense there, if sense was common. Well, I've heard so many great things about you, and I'd like to pass the mic to you, Andreina Maldonado. And you know what to do with the microphone and let people know what it is to be known. You are not alone, so you're doing a wonderful job, so take it away.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. My name is Andreina Maldonado, aka Nina Limon, and I am an immigrant from the country of Venezuela in Maracay. I consider myself a mix of all racial groups, really, from European to indigenous and Afro descendants. And I migrated to the US about 15 years ago and have been living in the Bay Area for the last 10 years doing social work, community organizing, and a lot of performing arts. So this video is a video from our work, Our Dignity, rendition number 2, performed at Dance Mission Theater, where we selected the scenes that were the most favorite by the workers and created a consolidated version of a 20-minute piece from an hour and 15. And in this performance, you see various scenes, starting from a migration scene, particularly because all of our participants and workers are migrants. We wanted to bring it on stage, and so that was a little bit of that. And then, of course, showcasing how workers rally up to demand for their rights. We wanted to bring that up on stage and uplift that. And the last thing I want to say is that in this show, we also uplifted individual voices, particularly focusing on three testimonies and that were brought onto the stage in a poetical form, but working one-on-one with the workers to develop their testimony, to make sure they feel empowered and good and that it speaks true to them. So when I moved to the Mission District in San Francisco, immediately saw the lack of resources, particularly in the artistic sector for low-wage workers and their families. One, because of the high price, but another one because of the lack of representation, I think, in spaces where workers could find trust. One thing that I've known from working with this community is that you need time. You need time for trust building. You need time for stories to begin to be expressed. And music has been a vehicle for us to begin vocalizing our experiences. Oftentimes, these workers, these people come with very heavy and traumatized experiences from not only harsh realities like crossing the border, but just family separation, which is a big issue that I'm beginning to explore more in my career as an immigrant person. Of course, music is it's just one element of a larger puzzle. We need other actors, we need community organizers, we need directors, we need allies that are sort of helping us be able to come together. So music is sort of the transportation that we use to give out loud the message, and in particularly for these communities that are often marginalized, particularly on the labor sector, being workers who don't have protections, basic health and safety protections, protections from retaliation or even wage theft, these kind of harsh realities that happen in these industries, informal industries, domestic work and day labor. We need to be able to talk about these issues. And oftentimes they become, sort of a story that's told, and music has given us a spark. It has given us a way to shift also the narrative, because we are not just domestic workers. We are not just gardeners, nannies, or cleaners. We are artists. We have a wealth of experience. And I actually grew up, some of them say, I actually grew up playing the guitar and I just left it for whatever reason. So really coming back into their inner child has been really important. And music has given us that. It has given us a tool to use for uplifting our voices at the legislative platform, and doing so in a way that creates compassion and begins to shift all old narratives that we want to get rid of. What Music to Life is helping me hone in and strengthen is my voice as a musician, my voice as an entrepreneur musician, through the classes and through just connecting with other musicians that in the country that are doing socially engaged work. So Music to Life is helping me create a vision board of how can this project be sustainable into the future without me, right? Because the idea that hopefully I will not be needed, and either my leadership at this moment will be passed on to a worker, to a child of the worker, to how can it live beyond me? I'm very interested in that. And I hope that, and I know that Music to Life is beginning to give me the tools to do that, to create an independent, it could be organization, it could be a collective, but with a mission and with partnerships. I think Music to Life is also affirming the importance of having partners in order to fulfill your projects.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shane Shapiro. I'm the founder and chair of Sound Diplomacy, and the founder and executive director of the nonprofit Center for Music Ecosystems. I'm on my book tour. As you can see, the drab hotel room behind me, and I just am writing this video to really support Music to Life. The work that they do is hugely important. It really not only demonstrates, but kind of, shows and tells both musicians and communities how they can benefit more from each other, and provides musicians and artists with needed services and support that, in my work, is super, super important to engaging with and creating a change. So, I just want to support Music to Life as much as I can. Their mission is fantastic. It is really integral to every community that we work with, and I probably think every community. I hope this message from tour finds everybody well, and thank you to Music to Life for everything you do.
Noel, I remember with a little bit of humility that there was a time when I did not appreciate or honor the work of musical forms beyond folk music to really participate. Yes, the Beatles rock, but hip-hop didn't get it. And I was so wrong, because today I think some of the most mainstream powerful messages are brought by those musical forms that I didn't acknowledge at the time. So here's my time to apologize, not just to Chuck D, but everybody else out there who went through the same formative challenge.
You remember, Peter, I came from a rhythm and blues background where I used to haunt the record stores in Pontiac, Michigan to try to find songs that spoke to me, and it carried over into one of the first records I made as a graduate of the Peter, Paul, and Mary University. I included a song that Chuck D also, by an artist that Chuck D also worked with, George Clinton, called I Just Want to Testify. And I think as we look at the Hope Rises CDs that have been released, there, it's an eclectic assortment of all of these different contributors to the consciousness of this country. Before introducing our final two artists tonight, I want to take a moment to discuss another part of tonight's 5-year anniversary celebration, the auction.
So as part of tonight's presentation, we are auctioning off one-of-a-kind experiences and items, including music-related memorabilia. You have the chance to bid on items like a signed Lindsey Buckingham Fender guitar, a virtual wine-tasting gala pairing wines and musical traditions from around the world, as well as an out-of-print Marvin Gaye stamp collection.
And we also have a fall weekend at a home in coastal Maine, complete with a private show with a Maine folk artist. Signed copies of Shane Shapiro's new book, This Must Be the Place. A certified Peter, Paul, and Mary Grammy Award platinum record celebrating the sale of over 1 million copies of our very first album. We also have a poster from the 1986 celebration of Peter, Paul, and Mary's 25th anniversary, which included a week of performances on Broadway.
Also, I'm very excited about my own personal donation to this Music to Life auction, which is a kind of a dinner with Andre, which is a film from many years ago, or let's call it a Peter immersion session, in which we will spend an hour together at my home prior to my treating you to a lunch near my apartment on Manhattan's Upper West Side.
Now, if you haven't yet visited our auction site to bid on these exclusive items, let me encourage you to not wait much longer. Check it out by visiting the link in the chat or scanning the QR code on the screen now. Bidding will remain open until tomorrow night, Thursday, December 7th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What is it about a song that can gather us so powerfully? Peter and I will always remember the enormous sense of unity, joining Mary and 250,000 others at the March on Washington for the Jobs and Freedom in 1963 to sing Blowing in the Wind and If I Had a Hammer. Music's ability to transcend personal and international differences continues to this day. In 1985, We Are the World was written in support of African famine relief and became the inspiration for a Live Aid concert broadcast globally in 1985. It brought together 46 musicians, won 4 Grammys, and raised more than $60 million for humanitarian aid. To this day, it's recognized as a major moment in world music and a movement embracing international collaboration between musicians. Our next artist of the night is no stranger to using her music to unite listeners. From the 60s to today, this artist understood a musician's responsibility to leverage recognition for good. From her early career of interpreting the songs of Pete Seeger and Tom Paxton to her latest studio album, Spellbound, released just last year, she has consistently fostered a sense of togetherness, reminding us all of the power of music to connect and heal in a world that can sometimes feel divided. Please join me in giving a warm virtual welcome to Judy Collins.
Thank you so much, Noel. I am thrilled to be here. You know, I've been a member and one of the judges of your wonderful organization. I've heard some gorgeous songs, some interesting songs by artists, new artists. And so it's a thrill to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
My name, it is Maria. My daughter is a dreamer. She says that she is worried that she will have to leave. When I was only 20, I crossed the burning border. I came to find a good life and brought my daughter here. When I came to America, I hoped life would be better for me and for my daughter, and here I worked for you. I harvested the peaches in Northern California, and then in Colorado, my family and me. This land was made by dreamers and children of those dreamers. We came here for democracy and hope. Now all we have is hope. My husband is a good man. He is no raping criminal. His hands are rough and scarred now from digging in the earth. My daughter loves her father, and he was always gentle. He too came from Jalisco to find what freedom's worth. But will you send her back now to live in fear and terror? She is our only daughter, whose dreams have been our vow. We worked to pay our way here. We gave our youth and promise, and in return you force us to go back to the wall. This land was made by dreamers and children of those dreamers. We We came here for democracy and hope. Now all we have is hope. My name, it is Maria. My daughter is a dreamer. She says that she is worried that she will have to leave.
What you've just seen is a video that I put together after I wrote Dreamers. I wrote it here, sitting at this very table, where I was watching television one day and I was listening to a young woman talk about her mother and her fears about her daughter's safety, that she felt that her daughter was going to get sent home, sent off to the country in South America where she could likely get murdered. And I sat here afterwards and I came up with the first lines. My name, it is Maria. My daughter is a dreamer. And that's how it starts. And that's how a lot of the stories in our countries, many countries all over the world, has to start today, because we are at odds with each other in many countries, and a number of places are not safe for some of us to stay. And so we have to get out and we have to go somewhere else. And that is both the journey, that is the activity that many people are having to make with nothing but what they own on their backs, probably in many cases. And so we who have so much, I often think of that. We who have so much have to be grateful, but we have to be generous and we have to be open and we have to try to help. I was trained classically. I then grew up in a family where my father made our living singing Rodgers and Hart, Rodgers and Hammerstein. And in forming a public, he was on the radio for 30 years. I sat at the dinner table every night with him, and he told us that basically we had to change the world and we had to do what was required. So that sort of integrated in the kinds of songs I sing. Not that I don't sing a gorgeous love ballad from the 13th century, but I look for beauty. If I choose a song, it's because I have fallen in love with it for one reason or another. It's either artistically gorgeous or it's about the song that I just recently heard. I think I can talk about it. It's Don McLean, and he's just written a song about George Floyd called The Ballad of George Floyd. I'll be singing it on my next album. It's one of the great songs I've heard in this time. We need to be able to express things immediately about political situations. I am not able to do that often. The Dreamers was one example. And Dawn writing The Ballad of George Floyd is another. It's immediate, it's singable, it's musical, it's beautiful, it's also terrible, because that's how it is with many songs about the problems that we're having on the planet. It's important. It's very, very difficult to write a politically geared, socially impactful song that's going to last as long as we shall overcome. When I went on tour to try to help people register to vote in Mississippi in 1964, Fannie Lou Hamer would put her feet on the ground in front of a few houses whose windows and doors would open up after she started to sing. And she would sing, "This little light of mine," and everything would sort of light up in the neighborhood. And people would come. They were terrified to go out to vote. And so they heard her sing, and it inspired them. And I was lucky enough to be singing along with her. Madeleine Albright, whom we met and got close to in the Clinton administration, she and I became friends. And when Audrey Hepburn died in that year, I think it was 93 or 4, she said, "I'd like you to take this on. I'd like you to be a UNICEF spokesperson." I said, "Oh my God, following those steps? That's impossible." She said, "No, you'll do fine." And then I went to see the head of UNICEF, and Jim said to me, "I want you to look at this book." It was called Song for Peace, and it was a book of drawings by children who were in either hospitals or, taken off and put in jails, and it was a book of their paintings, their drawings, children's drawings about the situations they were in. UNICEF had a program that it started in Mozambique, and the program was a series of 7 meetings where children would be asked to draw what was on their minds. Now, you know, the first 6 days were the war and the planes and flame coming out of the windows of the buildings. And then the last day, there'll be a sunshine with the kid's face in the middle and a flower around the edges. That's how long it took them to be able to think about the bright sky outside. Now, nowadays, when I stand out on the stage to sing, the first thing I do, I say hello, and I say a few other things, and then I sing, "Where have all the flowers gone?" And everybody in the audience sings it with me. And that's how we start our shows. So thank you, Pete Seeger. I was so enchanted when I got the first message from Noel. Then I began to listen, and as you know, I've recorded some of the artists' songs from your contest, so to speak. And I said, I'd be happy to be a judge. I'd be happy to live. By the way, listening to them, I found most of them I could take on board, which I think is a huge compliment because the level of the writing was superior. And of course, you can't sing all the songs, but the ones I chose, I still sing. All right. Now, I'll pass the mic on to an up-and-coming artist who is all about cross-cultural dialogue, and her name is Chao Tien.
Thank you so much, Judy, for such a sweet introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Chao Tien. I'm originally from China. Beijing is my hometown. I'm based in Maryland, but now I'm in Boston, Massachusetts for my PhD study. I'm a Chinese dulcimer musician, and my effort is to reshape cultural perception, inspire people like me to bravely express themselves, and help more people embrace collective, diversified cultural experiences in this country. So as you see the title, right? It's an East-West conversational project created by me and the world percussionist Tom Teasley. So we use improvisational dialogues between the Chinese dulcimer and world percussions to explore the music power of alleviating conflict. We have an album that came out in 2020 called Out of the Blue. So it was a fully improvisational one. In my personal experience, the omnipresence of music breaking boundaries and enhancing communication is evident throughout my musical collaborations. I always feel like the categorization of music genre, different genres, right? People call, you're a Chinese traditional musician, she's a jazz musician, something like that, which inadvertently separated musicians sometimes, simply by defining musical languages and theories. However, in my collaborations with musicians across various genres, we actively defy those norms, elevating awareness of shared expressions of musical essence, vocabularies, and thoughts. So this facilitates a robust exchange of musical narratives and breaks genre stereotypes, as well as, cultivating mutual respect and understanding. In that case, I think the empathy and connections nurtured through these musical experiences can be channeled into tangible social change and driving the ideas, that advocate for equality and inclusion. For example, the project Unheard Sounds is one focuses on the artistic expression of immigrant artists, right? It explores the artistic language through collaborations in music, dance, and visual arts, with improvisation being a key element. So all works in this project are created on the spot through improvisation, on the stage, right on the stage. So my goal is to let audiences to observe an interesting phenomenon of immediate, multicultural, multilingual communication happened on the moment. I hope that this project will continue in a way of discovery, reflection, and creation. Additionally, I formed the From China to Appalachia music ensemble with Grammy Award winners Kathy Fink and Marcy Marxer. We blend Chinese traditional folk songs with American roots music. We rearrange those songs from both countries and to introduce the idea that music connects people, music creates efficacious communication between us. People listen to those songs and feel like, I know this one, even though for the American audience, they heard a Chinese folk tune, but there's always commonalities between those folk tunes, and people get resonance from those tiny, tiny, beautiful tunes. And they started to talk about where are these come from? Why we have such similarities? So that moment I feel like was very beautiful in the context of musical communication. A few years ago, I began to recognize marginalized art, such as that of immigrant artists, right? So there should not be blame here, because it's not that people sometimes ignored our work or not very understand our work. Actually, they pretty much appreciate it, right? But that there are often vast and complex stories behind the artwork of immigrant artists that are challenging to express clearly and effectively due to the language barriers. I feel like, the interviewing of various voices in this country is like a tapestry made of various threads. So we need to ensure that every thread and every story has its rightful space to be seen and heard. that is not merely about providing a platform, but actively seeking, nurturing, and amplifying those voices, right? I feel like Music to Life is a place to do such things. I really appreciate Music to Life for not only listening to me, but also providing a channel to amplify my voice to the world. And I see this organization as a bountiful garden where seeds of equality and inclusion are sown. We artists and speakers are invited to get into this garden and work for this garden, to do some beautiful gardening work. Then the fruits of our work will in turn nourishing the rest of the world, the wider society. That's my feeling.
Hi, everyone. My name is Belinda, and I am a proud member of the board of Music to Life. I am probably the only board member of Music to Life that actually does not play a physical musical instrument, unless you count the air guitar as one of them. However, I am a lifelong lover of music and dance. My background really is a lot in leadership development, in coaching. We know what really sort of connects human beings and allows us to tap into our innovation and creativity and connection is through mediums like music. Music to Life is not only celebrating the life of the artist and the craft and the pureness of what music can be, but it also really takes a very practical and very holistic view on what it means to be an artist and what it means to be a change maker and what it means to be an activist. Thank you again to everyone for being with us tonight. Hopefully you found one, maybe two, maybe three reasons for wanting to support and join the Music to Life family. And so please join me and hundreds of other donors in supporting to Music to Life's work with artists who build bridges of understanding. You can be part of the movement by scanning the QR code in the corner on the screen to donate to Music to Life. We appreciate you.
I happen to feel that there is a real gift that used to exist in our country and the world when music of conscience was there to constantly remind people that we are together, that we believe in something, that we are not divided, that there are issues that concern us all, that we can disagree and agree to disagree and still love each other. Just give us the chance to let Music to Life do its work, my friends, because if we can resuscitate the kind of front and center place of music in our lives that we used to have, we will use it well in today's world. And with that, I have to say thank you and my great admiration for you, Noel, and you, Liz, for the extraordinary work that you're doing and what you've created with Music to Life.
What a sweetheart you are, Peter. And those of you watching tonight, if you like what you've seen, stay in touch. Check out our auction. You know, Peter and I kind of can't say goodbye to you without closing with a song. This particular one by Pete Seeger and Lee Hayes, and you might even find yourself singing along.
Got a hammer in the morning, a hammer in the evening, all over this land. Then I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out a warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. And if I had a bell, I had to ring it in the morning, I had to ring it in the evening, all over this land. I had to bring out danger, bring out warning, I bring out
Well, if I had a song,
yeah, if I had a song,
I'd sing it in the morning.
I'd sing it in the morning,
sing it in the evening, all over this land. Singing out danger, oh, sing out a warning, I'd sing out love between my brothers and my sisters, oh, all over this land. Well, I got a hammer and I got a bell, and I got a song to sing all over this land. It's a hammer of justice, it's a bell of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. It's a hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land.
Amen. Oh, thank you all so much for spending the evening with us and these incredible musician change makers that we've shared the program with. If you're interested in keeping the party going, there are still tickets available for the after party through the link in the chat. Otherwise, thanks for helping Music to Life to support musician change makers around the country. If you want to support the work of these musicians even further, don't forget to stop by the online auction, and you might even walk away with that certified Peter, Paul, and Mary Grammy Award Platinum record. Be safe, be healthy, get out there and vote. See you next time.
Put out the fire, put out the fire, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. Put out the fire, put out the fire, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. We love you, we hear you, we commit to change our ways, not later, but sooner. Right now, for your future. Youth can't wait, put out the fire. Grandma can't wait, put out the fire. Blind can't wait, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. For our children, put out the fire. And their children, put out the fire. And their children, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. For songbirds, for cleaning, for the oceans and the lakes. Not later, but sooner. Right now, for our future. Melting glaciers, put out the fire. Rising seas, put out the fire. Bleaching coral, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. Shrinking shoreline, put out the fire. Sinking island, put out the fire. Growing dry land, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. Let bees live, let trees grow, let the snow fall
house is on fire.
We're still here, and we're going strong, and we're getting tired of proving we belong. We're still here, and we're going strong, and we're getting tired of proving we belong. We're still here, and we're going strong, and we're getting tired of proving we belong. We're still.
A letter to her kids was the last thing she wrote at a place in the Bronx where she lost all hope. She tried and tried to survive and provide for conditions she faced with too much to take. Left her 4 children in the Philippines, to nanny in the States and send her back dreams. Cause that's the way it works in poor countries where there is no work and you have to leave. For little pay, long hours, no job benefits. Fired if you tell it, just the hell of it. Abuse is what they call it, and so is slavery. To be a migrant worker is a display bravery. I imagine a sacrifice, it brings me to tears. To not see your children for so many years. Felt it belonged in our land of liberty, but some went wrong when they took her dignity. Yeah, even when the smoke is clear, strong, even when the hope is gone, and we're getting tired of proving we belong, but we keep holding on. Yeah, even after all these years, strong, even when it all went wrong, we're getting tired of proving we belong, but we keep holding on.
Yo, we've come a long way since long duck gone. Grindy killed for generations while they mock us and tongue with their chings, chunks, Rosie O'Donnell. But that joke's more dumb than George Dub and your mom. What? Oh, you wondering where I'm from? Is it confusing as color skin is of an American? Isn't this the land of opportunity, rights, and equals? Well, Hollywood likes to get Asian roles of white people, but still we'll find a way to get on the tube. Prop to you, Quan, and American dance crews, cause that's what I call reality TV. Smacking your face while I pack y'all handles pizza. If you can't recognize, then widen your eyelids instead of pulling them back. Molly Cyrus, these blind kids be keeping alive, so your time's like a virus, but whatever ridiculous innovation did the gift is just to find us here. Even when the smoke is cleared, strong, even when the hope is gone, cause we're getting tired of proving we belong, but we keep holding on. Here, even after all these years, strong, even when it all went wrong, we're getting tired of proving we belong, but we keep holding on.
In the House and the Senate say we belong. We belong. On the TV and the radio, we belong.
If they mispronounce your name, say we belong. Stop searched on the plane, say we belong.
Here, though you choose not to see us, we ain't Ivy Leaguers and tequilas only. We that lonely testimony, the stories never told, cause you hold us up like trophies, like model minorities. But what about all the refugees in war? I speak for my Southeast Asian brethren. Peace to my family, grew up in Camp Pendleton like a pendulum. It's back and it's forth. Half of us upper class, man, half of us is poor. Half of us is doctors studying healthcare. Half of us is babies having babies for welfare. That's a sign of for grief. When we miss home and we die in our sleep. So don't question why I'm inspired to speak. Cause against all odds, despite your beliefs, we're here. Even when the smoke is clear, strong. Even when the hope is gone, and we're getting tired of proving we belong. But we keep holding on. Here, even after all these years, strong. Even when it all went wrong, we're getting tired of proving we belong. But we keep holding on.
About the news, Daddy leaves it on all day through. I've been thinking about the wars, and to be honest, I can't take it anymore. I hear you every day, the awful words you say, but hate can't be the face of the American dream. I've been thinking about my life and how one day I want to be a mother and a wife. I've been scared of that thought too. In a world of struggle, what are we gonna do? I hear you every day saying it's gonna be okay, but hate can't be the face of the American dream. And I know we've got a long way to go, but I've got to believe that change the choice, and it can start with me. And I've been thinking about our mother and how they took her away from her people, put her in a boarding school, away from her brother, sister.